Welcome, y'all. My name is Mr. Coolchalk, and I'm here to tell y'all about some far too often untold indigenous stories behind place names all across the United States. Today, we're going to be going over the state of Wyoming. Before we begin, thank you all for watching, and if you like my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing and clicking like so that all my new videos go straight to your recommendations. With that out of the way, let's begin. Wyoming, both a state and a meme at this point. It's known primarily for two things: its beautiful mountainous landscape, epitomized in Yellowstone National Park, and being big and empty. While being the 10th largest state by land area, it's dead last in population. It's hard to call any place in Wyoming a city, per se. Only the state capital and largest towns of Cheyenne and Casper have a population over 50,000. The rest of the state is essentially rigid open plains and the Rocky Mountains interspersed with the occasional rural town of a few thousand. As with many places in the western half of the United States, one might expect the origin of the word Wyoming to be indigenous. As you might have guessed from the existence of this video, that is indeed the case. Where does this name originate, though? The name of a regional tribe, Cheyenne or Arapaho leader, the Lakota Sioux place name? Nope. The answer lies in eastern Pennsylvania, Amish country. As it turns out, the original Wyoming was a valley surrounding the northern branch of the Susquehanna River. The name originates from the language of the Lenape, also called the Delawares, inhabitants of the region in the 16th century when the Europeans first arrived. As it's gone under so much transformation over the years, the original pronunciation of the Lenape word is not known exactly. It's thought to have been either Mawawama or Mechaweming, coming from the Munsee dialect of Lenape, the variety spoken by the inhabitants of Wyoming. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also called the Five Nations or Iroquois Confederacy, had militarily and economically dominated the Lenape since the end of the Beaver Wars in 1701, and treated them as conquered people. For this reason, most deals concerning Lenape land, goods, or people were done between the British and Haudenosaunee with little to no Lenape say. Because of this, it's very possible that Wyoming came to English through an Iroquoian language rather than directly from a Lenape dialect, which could explain the fairly large difference between Wyoming and Mechawaming. Now that we know the word Wyoming comes from the Lenape language, the context and time period in which it came to English and its meaning, how the hell did this term end up most notably applied to a state over 1,500 miles away? As it turns out, the Wyoming Valley of Pennsylvania has quite a violent history despite its modern prosperity. In the colonial era, it was fought and bled over by the likes of the Iroquois, Lenape, and Susquehannock on the indigenous side, and the French, Pennsylvanians, and even Connecticuters, surprisingly, on the European side of things. It was a prime place for settlement, providing safety and plentiful farmland and hunting grounds. By the time the American Revolution came around, though, it was fought over for local but also international and ideological causes. The Battle of Wyoming was fought in 1778 between a coalition of Patriot forces and supporters of the Connecticut claim to the valley, and Loyalist forces that came from Fort Pitt, modern Pittsburgh. The British Loyalists and Iroquois ended up winning, killing around 200 on the opposing side. Because of exaggerated and racist claims of Iroquois savagery, it was known for many years as the Wyoming Massacre. This was common in Revolutionary War battles that included indigenous forces on the British side, particularly the Iroquois. This fear-mongering led to intense hatred, fear, and racial violence towards indigenous people during wartime in North America, such as the destruction of more than 40 Haudenosaunee villages in modern New York State. The collective memory of the supposed extreme brutality of the Battle of Wyoming was memorialized in a famous poem, Gertrude of Wyoming, by Scottish poet Thomas Campbell in 1809. These two claims to fame caused Wyoming to be a popular choice when naming flat plains surrounded by a high rise. Minus the state and Pennsylvania Valley, there's a total of 14 Wyomings in the United States, primarily in the Great Lakes region. This makes a great deal of sense in the case of the state, as approaching from the east, it's almost entirely the upper Great Plains. The western two-thirds are primarily made up of the Rocky Mountains, a very high rise from the plains below. A politician by the name of James Mitchell Ashley was the first to suggest the name Wyoming be applied to the land that would become the state we know today. Ashley held several offices, including governor of the Montana Territory, though the one that matters to our story was a House representative from Ohio. He served on the Committee of Territories, which was in charge of organizing and naming the unorganized territories in the United States after the Civil War. Though the name was likely applied to some western lands of the country before 1865, that's when James Ashley remembered his home state of Pennsylvania and first officially suggested it to apply to the territory that was officially organized, given its modern borders, and named Wyoming. 25 years later, it was admitted into the Union as the 44th state. And with that, we arrive at the end of our etymological journey. We traveled all the way from the 17th century East Coast to the 19th century Rocky Mountains in 2 to 3 languages, all from different language families. One of the most important aspects of tracing this word back to its origins lies in the fact that, while being of indigenous origin, it came to represent indigeneity not in the idyllic geographical sense it originally held, but the supposed barbarity of Iroquois savagery, epitomized in poetry by Thomas Campbell. Us modern Americans are now left with these legacies dropped on our laps by those that came before us. I think the best thing to do with this knowledge now is to remember the peaceful Wyoming Valley of Pennsylvania, the resources and sites so envied by those who live there, and the vastness and diversity of cultures we now lump together into the category of Native American. Thank you all for watching, and as I said before, please click like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!